Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholes. This week we're going to be visiting Russia for 3 new tales, and the first story is one that is very, very familiar. We've told it many times before. It's a progressive tale, but in this particular instance there's something unique, in that one of the partners is a human, is a woman. Usually in this story you find a cock and a hen, or a cock and some other barnyard animal, but no, not in this story of more Russian picture tales. And I'll be honest, you should head over to the website folktaleproject.com, where I'll have all of the images that go with the stories from this week, and they are absolutely worth it. This first story is The Cock and the Bean. A cock was scratching one day in the earth under the wall of a cottage when he found a bean. He tried to swallow it and choked himself. He choked himself and stretched himself out, and there he lay and couldn't even breathe. And his mistress saw him, ran up to him and said, "Mr. Cock, what makes you lie there like that so you can't breathe?" "I've choked myself with a bean," he answered. "Go and ask the cow for some butter." And his mistress came to the cow and said, "Mr. Cow, give me some butter. My cock is lying there, he can't even breathe. He has choked himself with a bean." And the cow answered, "Go and ask the haymakers for some hay." And she came to the haymakers and said, "Haymakers, give me some hay. The hay's for the cow who will give me some butter, and the butter's for my cock who is lying there and can't breathe. He choked himself with a bean." And the haymakers answered, "Go and ask the oven to give you some loaves." And so she came to the oven and said, "Oven, oven, give me some loaves. The loaves are for the haymakers who will give me some hay. The hay's for the cow who will give me some butter, and the butter's for my cock who is lying there and can't breathe. He's choked himself with a bean." And the oven answered, "Go and ask the woodcutters for some wood." And then she came to the woodcutters and said, "Give me some wood. The wood's for the oven who will give me some loaves. The loaves are for the hay cutters who will give me some hay. The hay's for the cow who will give me some butter. The butter's for my cock who is lying there and he can't breathe. He's choked himself with a bean." And they answered, "Go and ask the smith for an axe. We've nothing to cut the wood with." So she came to the smith and said, "Smith, Smith, give me an axe. The axe is for the woodcutters who will give me some wood. The wood's for the oven who will give me some loaves. The loaves are for the haymakers who will give me some hay. The hay's for the cow who will give me some butter. The butter's for my cock who is lying there and he can't breathe. He's choked himself with a bean." And he answered, "Go into the forest and burn me some charcoal." So she went into the forest, gathered a bundle of sticks and burned some charcoal. Then she took the charcoal to the smith, and he gave her an axe. She went with the axe to the woodcutters, and the woodcutters gave her some wood. She took the wood to the oven, and the oven gave her some loaves. She took the loaves to the haymakers, and the haymakers gave her some hay. The hay she took to the cow, who gave her some butter. She brought the butter to the cock, and the cock gulped it down and swallowed the bean. Then he jumped up merrily and started singing, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! I was sitting under the wall plaiting shoes, and I lost my all, but I found a little coin, and I bought a little scarf, and I gave it to a pretty girl." And that is the Russian story of The Cock and the Bean. And, I love these tales. They seem a little silly on the face of it, but really they're telling us about the interconnectedness of the world, and how one thing almost always leads to another, and nothing lives on its own, which I feel like we can all appreciate. This is Dan Scholes with the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, thank you so much for listening.